welcome to the ShowRunnings.tv Pilot Roundtable, a Southgate Media Group podcast. I'm Kyle Tremblay.
And I'm Olivia Richards.
And we're from ShowRunnings.tv, where you can rate and review all your favorite TV shows, including the new series we're talking about today,
Marry Me.
According to NBC's website, 6 years ago, Annie and Jake bonded over their mutual love of nachos and have been inseparable ever since. Now, the only thing we know for sure is these two are destined to be together, whether they can get it together or not. Olivia, your thoughts about nachos? No.
I'm so laughing. You started the synopsis, and I was like, no.
Nope. just
Stop.
No, hard pass.
Hard pass. I want a divorce from the show.
Oh no. The sequel, Divorce Me, starring Olivia. Starring Olivia and Marry Me.
It's the sequel called Prenup.
Alright, so what were your issues with this pilot?
I just felt no connection to the characters, like, at all. I found the lead character to be just so annoying. Like, I think they tried to make her kind of, like, quirky.
Yeah.
And fun and like take her flaws and make them like kind of cute and comedic, but like, oh my god, I was just watching it and I'm like, I can't do it. I can't.
Yeah, it's a weird show where the guy seems like a perfectly normal dude and the woman is like an ongoing car crash. And so, it's very strange. Now, the show is from the creator of Happy Endings, and stars Casey Wilson, which the aforementioned woman, who of course was the star of Happy Endings. So, did you watch that show?
Yeah, I liked Happy Endings, so
Ooh.
I was surprised when I started watching this, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, I did too. I don't know, I'm wondering if this is one where the pilot is just really bad. Because I like Ken Marino, I like Casey Wilson, I did not like this pilot at all, for the reasons that you mentioned. I don't know, was there anything redeemable about it? Like, do you see any hope for the future, or are you just out on it?
I mean, there were like moments I kind of liked when like the characters would react and you'd like occasionally hear an F-bomb shoved in there when he's sort of reacting to her just being crazy. I think they need to tone down her crazy, like that opening scene where she just goes off on this like 5-minute rant because he didn't propose to her on the vacation.
That was painful.
I was like, what's happening? Like, I wanted it to be funny, and I think if it had been written differently, it could have been funny, but it was just like, again, like we're talking about a lot of shows that are now kind of thriving on gender stereotypes.
Uh-huh.
And it's like you took every annoying thing that you can think about associated with women that you find men complaining about, and they just shoved it into one character, and they just turned her around like a top, and she's just spinning her way through the show and just bulldozing over everyone.
Compare and contrast Casey Wilson's character in this show with the female lead from Manhattan Love Story. More stereotypical, less stereotypical? Where are we at on the scale?
I mean, for different reasons.
Right, yeah.
I think they kind of had her like in the kind of nagging wife role of like, well, why didn't you do this? And I need you to do this, and like finding him at work and being completely clueless and like not leaving him alone, but like he finds it endearing and he can't imagine his life without her. Whereas Dana is like the childlike version of the woman where she like just can't do anything and needs a man because she just is completely hopeless.
Yeah, just so she doesn't like light her house on fire by accident.
Pretty much,
right? Yeah, it's I found that character really problematic in this, the female lead, and I mean, I like Casey Wilson a lot, and I think that she has a very specific kind of comic sensibility, and you could see the Happy Endings influence in some of the dialogue, like the sort of pace of the jokes is a lot higher, like. I didn't like A to Z a lot more than I liked this pilot. I liked it a little bit more. But one thing with A to Z is like there are no jokes in that pilot. Like that pilot just comes and goes. Like, and it's like it's going for pleasant. And so one of the things that I appreciated here, even if I didn't think it necessarily worked, or at least didn't have a high batting average of working, is that they're definitely going for jokes here. Like there are there are lines of dialogue, like interactions, where there are like 5 or 6 jokes within like 2 or 3 lines, and so I appreciated that, and that reminded me of what Happy Endings did best, which is just have two characters talk to each other, and just constantly be saying funny things. Um, but I think that it was all undermined by what you're talking about with the character. I think that so much of this episode was driven by her, what I can only describe as mental problems, like like her like dementia. It really sort of undermined everything that I thought it might have done well. And it was just it was painful to get through because of that character. So yeah.
I couldn't. There was part of me that's like I wanted to laugh in certain parts, and I feel like they tried to throw in physical comedy to make up for the fact that some of the writing was not solid, and by some of it I mean like most of it.
Yeah.
So like they would have like her run into a door, or like someone falling over, or you know, things like that. And randomly Don Cheadle was in it, which was a really weird moment. I was like,
Very strange.
I was like, what are you doing here?
Yeah. Did you wander in from House of Lies?
Right?
Yeah. So this is about our 400th comedy pilot this season that is centered around one couple. I'm trying to do the list off the top of my head, but there's like A to Z, Manhattan Love Story, which we've already talked about. Selfie is about one potential couple getting together. Can you think of any others? It seems like every pilot this season is about a single couple. And their relationship. It's baffling to me.
That was the thing that like it gets me, because which is why I think that when we were reviewing Cristela, it was so refreshing, because it was her like in the workforce and her trying to focus on achieving her own personal goals. And yes, like there was the family context within that. But like like we still had this idea that like if you're not in a relationship, or if you're not making a conscious effort to have everything together, then your life is just in shambles and you're completely hopeless, and nobody should ever have faith in you to do anything.
Yeah, it's the rare show this season that stars a woman who the entirety of her ambition is not about getting married or finding the right guy. Like there's so many shows this season where it's like the woman's sole purpose for existence is to get together with this guy, and the guy like has another job and he's much more successful than she is, and it's like, oh, it's just weird to me. It's just a weird season.
It's just, we're flunking it left, right. Like it's so dismal to have to watch. And like, you know, they're having these, you know, female on female conversations. So like, you know, these girls are having lunch, and inevitably it's like the girl just got a job and the best friend's like, so I hooked you up with this guy, and I decided to get you this guy's number. I'm like, this is not what happens ever. Like, don't be friends with those people. That's 90% of your problem.
Yeah. On that note, I can tell you right now, within a month, I'm going to jumble up all the characters, the supporting characters on A to Z, Manhattan Love Story, and this show, and not be able to tell them apart. Because one thing that every series has this fall is a chubby, bearded friend. And we got another one here! What did
From
you...
Broad City, nonetheless.
Yeah, John Gimberling, I believe.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy him at all? I think he's a better actor than the previous ones, at least. Or funnier.
I mean, he kind of just happened in there. They kind of just had him like going around like making fat jokes about himself and like talking about how gross everyone thinks he is.
Yep.
I'm like, is there not a format for these kinds of characters that don't, like, if you have a heavier character with a beard, like who isn't classically attractive, their job is comedic relief for the more attractive characters to make fun of because he doesn't have his life together and he eats too much. I'm like, what?
That's about it.
Like, what? It's 2014 and we can't write better material than this? Like, that's still funny?
I don't have an answer. Clearly, all the networks relied on the same research firm, which came back to them and said, we want stories about one couple getting together, and no matter what else, that couple has a chubby friend with a beard. That's it. That's every comedy this season. And I think this show, aside from its flaws, was really hurt by premiering last among those shows, because again, we have these other shows to compare it to, and it feels like we're just dancing the same dance again, and none of them are that good. And this feels so stale right off the bat. Like not the dialogue, which I agree with you, like wasn't great, but I think it could get better. I can see hope for the dialogue just because it's it's the Happy Endings people, and that show had great dialogue. But just the premise of the show seems so stale and so done before, and I think that the best way to save this show would be for it to abandon that premise right away. For this just to be a show about a couple and their friends, sort of the way Cougar Town did, and just make it about this group of adult friends and their trials and tribulations, and abandon the whole thing where she constantly screws up their proposals. Like, how about we get away? Like, one episode was plenty. I don't need to see any more of that.
That's what I was saying. I'm like, there's no driving point from this point forward if it's just going to go like that. Like, one episode, it was like 23 minutes, and each moment, it was just painful to have to get through to get to the end.
Yeah, I felt the same way. This is a comedy that, even though I did chuckle a couple times, some of the dialogue got me. The main bits, like the set pieces, where like she gets him fired for work because she brings up his trip that he went on without telling his boss, and the scene you mentioned right off the start where she's ranting and raving and he's proposing, and like, oh, that's not my kind of comedy. It really isn't. It made me uncomfortable and I didn't like it. So, yeah. All right, so final verdict, thumbs up or thumbs down on Marry Me.
Shocker. I'm going to give it a thumbs down.
I can't even believe it. No, I will join you in a thumbs down, although this is one I do want to revisit after like 6 or 7 episodes. I think I like the people involved in front of the camera and behind the camera. I think it's a mess. The pilot is a mess. But maybe this one will figure itself out if it gets a chance to. All right, Olivia, how can people keep up with you?
I'm on Twitter at RichardsOlivia.
Excellent. And you are writing about the Frozen season of Once Upon a Time.
Oh, yes. Once Upon a Time is on Sundays, and I am live tweeting and reviewing that every single week.
Yeah, and you can read those reviews as well as my reviews on showratings.tv. And that concludes this episode of the showratings.tv Pilot Roundtable. We invite you to check out this and other Southgate Media Group podcasts at southgatemediagroup.com, and to read about, rate, and discuss all your favorite shows at showratings.tv. You can follow me on Twitter at KyleLovesTV, Olivia at RichardsOlivia, and Show Ratings at ShowRatingsTV. Until next time, thanks for listening.
If you would like to donate to help pay for this and other Southgate Media Group podcasts, simply go to our website, southgatemediagroup.com, and click on the donate button. It can be as little as $1 or, well, as much as you want. Help keep this fun going by supporting this and our other shows. Thanks again for listening, everyone. You're the best fans in the world.